Welcome back to Q Dads. I'm Ste, and yes, we are here with episode 1 of the 3rd season of MGM's From. Now, we might not be the first people out there with the video, but our theories are so worth the wait. Like the cabins where Jim and Kenny are they from a previous attempt for the monsters to try and cultivate humanity? Now, we're going to be diving deep into some of these theories as we run through the episode so far. So don't forget to hit us in the comments to keep that conversation flowing, as we'll be dropping some bonus videos during the week to keep that From hype going. And of course, don't forget to subscribe, as it really helps the channel to grow. So season 3 kicks off with literally the same scene where we left off, with Tabitha in a hospital as she comes to grips with the fact she's outside of Fromville. She soon grabs her stuff and heads out as she sees the little boy in white, which seems to be some kind of hallucination. Now, at this point, I do ask myself, is she just hallucinating the nightmare that she just lived, or is the boy in white actually still guiding her somewhere? Because after realising that he wasn't there and stepping outside the shop, she does see the church, which then leads her to her next revelation. So, I'm asking questions already. Is this confirmation that the little boy in white is actually on the good side, helping Tabitha piece all of this together to stop the town, as without him she would never have seen the church? The more important part of this being, if she did actually see the boy in white outside the village, does this mean he can cross over freely? And if he can anything else? This leads me on to a theory later in the video around Boyd, so hold on to that thought. Just as we try and answer those questions, we dive into another one, because the next thing we see, Boyd bandaging himself up from his recent shotgun blast. All this as he talks to Father Cattry. The question is asked about who the priest is. Is he a figment of Boyd's imagination, or again, is he something more? But the priest just answers with,
I'm afraid I can't answer that for you, Boyd.
Which just means we're going to have to wait to find out. We then get some filler scenes as we see a few of the big returning characters peek through from the house and from the street. Victor then pulls a gun on Randall, who's trying to steal a goat, and here we get our first lost connection of the series. Now yes, you might be saying that I'm just stretching here with the whole Lost connection, and I can hear some of you screaming already that From is nothing like Lost, but it does sound very familiar, that Jack was trying to rally the team, and that they're all in this together. Boyd here doing the exact same thing.
The only way we go home is together.
But if we can't live together, we're gonna die alone.
Just a true natural leadership quality, but it does help it grow, and obviously connects the story for later on when they start to rescue the farm animals. We then get Jim and Kenny heading out into the woods, and just as I ask myself the question of I can't see much mystery, we suddenly then get these creepy heads, these man-made wooden figures that seem to represent some kind of warning to stay away, or a protection from what's nearby. I did question when I first saw the scene if these were bone, but on closer inspection it does appear to be wood. Now, we linger on one of the figures for a longer time, and it appears to have a crown, and as they approach the cabins further, it appears there are mounds on the ground, indicating graves. Now, they both head into the cabins and end up staying there. These cabins, they're a lot thicker, a lot sturdier, something you'd see similar to a Viking era, where they've got these man-made homes, which for me in this scene raised two main theories. One, were the cabins already there? Like I said, from an era where Vikings roamed, meaning that this town was built on some kind of sacrificial burial ground, a pagan hotspot, or even some form of voodoo-based event, as the wooden figures do give off that voodoo-like appearance, especially with the heads being so small. And could this be the main reason why all of these things keep happening? Now I mentioned the figure with the crown and voodoo. Could this have originally been a safe haven for slaves? As it does seem like the house in the village is that of a plantation house, and we've seen American Civil War soldiers. Could this have been their last attempt to rain down justice on those who oppress them? Wild theory or no, but why show us images of the past unless something went down here? This would then mean the town and these monsters have been around for an incredibly long time, which I doubt because of the fashion sense of some of these creatures. They don't seem to wear anything that predates modern civilization. My second theory being, were these cabins from an earlier phase? A time where Fromville tried to tame humanity, tried to cultivate what they needed to gain, some kind of ultimate power, maybe to be released back into the real world, but they failed, something didn't go quite well, and the experiment was called off. Is that it? Has the mystery been happening over and over again throughout time? Each location a different phase the monsters have tried? Of course, we don't actually get any answers, but Jim and Kenny decide to stay the night, and they get a slight knock at the door, obviously proving the talisman still works. But what was that knocking at the door? Now, something about it didn't seem right. There was no talking, there was no screeching, which makes me think it wasn't one of the normal residents of Fromville, and maybe it was something else. Something that maybe wasn't malicious. Is that because of these wooden figures? These creepy statues that protect and ward off enemies, meaning a nicer entity can appear? I think this is a theory we're definitely going to toy with over the course of the series. Tabby then confesses in a church, which is strange because most normal people will just go to the police after something like this. But she continues and the priest asks about Thomas, which I did find was unusual, yet he could have sensed that she had lost a child. You know, they do have those instincts. And then she starts to go through Victor's lunchbox. She realises that there's an address and it prompts her to her next search location. This is where she ends up heading. And meeting Victor's dad, who instantly recognises the lunchbox. Now again, we've had a little bit of a debate in our last video about how old Victor is. I'm still going around the fact that he's probably 50s, potentially late 50 as well. And if I remember right, Victor's dad wasn't in any of the flashbacks that we saw from the previous 2 seasons, and he wasn't really mentioned at all. So how would he, after 50 or maybe 40 years, recognise the lunchbox? It seems too fishy for me, which makes me think that he's in on it, or at least knows more than he's letting on. Is it even Victor's dad? Or is he an imposter? Maybe this is actually Christopher, the one supposedly responsible for Victor's mom's death. He was in Farmville and could have killed Victor's mom, escaping through the faraway tree, which is why he's so surprised to see Tabby with it. Or, in an even crazier theory, courtesy of my wife, yeah, that's right, one of the Q moms, is this the real Victor? We've had a few commenters say maybe Victor is an imposter. Could this man actually be Victor? As like we said, he doesn't look old enough to be Victor's dad. Maybe the Victor on the inside is actually something made up to lure the people in Farmville to actually act on certain events. Hence why his memory is always so sketchy, and bits always seem to come back at the points things are going wrong. Either way, I half expected Tabby to knock the door and end up finding Victor's sister. So maybe this man could have simply been an old friend of Victor's, maybe Victor's brother-in-law, assuming his sister escaped, because if I remember right, Victor never found her body. And then we end the episode with the monsters letting out the livestock, which has me thinking on a little theory in just a moment. Boyd and Jade try to herd the livestock with the help of a couple of others, but try to coerce the animals back inside into some kind of safety, just so they've got food to live for the next several months. But alas, this fails and we see one of the monsters kill the cow, which was gruesome. But then Boyd and Shen are trapped inside the barn. We realise that the monsters are also already on the inside, which means the talisman has no effect on them. And in a gruesome and shocking twist, they kill Chan and tie up Boyd to make him watch, trying to break him, as they say. But this makes me ask the question about why Boyd is saved. What part does he play in this grand scheme of things? Is he the key to it all? I've spoken about this with Ben, and I think Boyd has to have something special about him. It always seems to be Boyd is the one that finds new protections or events for the village. Before he turned up, there were no talismans, and he was the first one to kill one of the creatures. He was even the one to stop the event that transpired after it, being told by an entity that looked like his wife to give up. What if that's the key? Boyd needs to lose hope for the next stage of the plan to happen. I've mentioned before, maybe something is trying to get out. What if a certain event needs to happen for this? We assume Jade is trying to find the symbol as a way out, but what if we're looking at it all wrong, and actually that symbol is more of a cage than a gate? And maybe the children on the tablet are the seal, maybe from some form of old black magic, which required sacrifices. This would then make the monsters the guardian of the realm, trying to stop anyone breaking the seal. Obviously that sounds quite far-fetched. Let me know what you think about that idea. As for another little theory, how did the monsters know how to release the livestock? Did they just know because they connected and hear everything? Or are they hearing everything because, again, someone in the inside is reporting information back? As the rest of the episodes drop, me and Ben are going to be pinpointing the main suspects for who we think is on the inside. Now I know this is a rogue theory that we're going with, but entertain us. So whether you agree or disagree, let me know in the comments who you think could be on the inside. Me, I'm still sticking with my main instincts on Sarah, because she's never quite in every scene. She always turns up just like she did in this episode to save the day. Or is it someone like Donna, who's already a trusted member, so gets that information direct? So overall the episode was great. I mean, a good kickstart to this third series, and I'm glad that we're back doing it week by week, because that just helps us to theorise as the weeks go on about what could happen. There's just a few things I want to have one last mention about. First I want to speak about is Tabitha. Now, Tabitha is on the outside, heading for Victor's dad, but why? What does she think she'll gain from that? Because surely if this was Victor's dad, and he's been living his life, he's going to suddenly turn around and just say, I've not seen him for 30, 40 years, I don't know where he is, I don't know what you're talking about, and be no help whatsoever. Which then makes me ask the question about what Victor's dad and potentially the rest of his family know. How is he connected to all this? Does he have an inside person that is feeding him information? Is he connected deeper through some kind of dream, so he knows about everything that's currently going on? There's just more to this mystery than we realise. And of course, how can he help? Does he know a way back to the town? Is this how Victor's sister escaped? And actually her dad knows the way back through? Or, as I mentioned a moment ago, is this actually Christopher, who happens to be in the town and is either too afraid to go back or not wanting to in a chance to escape his past? The second thing I want to discuss are about those heads. We've already thrown a few theories around, so do you think they are there to ward off the enemy? There were definitely a few of them, and they looked like they were black magic or voodoo or something along those lines. No matter which theory you run along with, I think that these were from a previous inhabitants, that these monsters were trying to get to. For all we know, the figures work in a similar way to the talismans, but maybe for outdoor locations. Either way, I think the cabins were there for a long time, like I've said. They were there from a time period where Vikings or pagans roamed around, and actually the first residents of the town discovered this little village when it was all woodland and tried to stay safe. Or maybe that wasn't enough for the monsters, which is why they created the town itself, to lure more people in. Now finally, I want to mention a quick theory around time. We saw a quick shot of Elgin and Tilly as they saw a monster or the ghost of a woman. For me, I think this was Elgin asleep and dreaming of his real mom, who is actually Fatima. Now, we will be dropping a video in a few days all around this theory and why time is connected, so be sure to look out for that. What are your thoughts on the show? Was it a good first episode? Do you think those wooden figures are a good or bad sign? And finally, is that Victor's dad? Let us know in the comments. From is great for theories, so please keep commenting. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, we'll catch you next time with something new.